Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So previously, we talked about how you can set up the OpenVPN server on the AWS platform. So we have already done that and we have installed SSL certificate on it as well. So in today's video, I'll be sharing with you how you can install the CTFd portal on the AWS platform inside the private subnet. So if you are ready, let's get into it. So right now we only have the OpenVPN instance running. So we launch an instance again. So this time around, we just choose Amazon Linux 2 AMI. So check on the free tier. Then next, this time round, what we will need to do is to same thing, VPC. Then subnet, we choose the private subnet. Okay, so disabled. We do not want to assign any public IP. Host name type, just leave it by default. So everything leave it as by default. Okay, so next you can add storage. So this one leave it as by default. Add tag, add tag. So name, EF. So next, configure security group. So same thing. We can do HTTP rule, HTTPS. So review and launch. Oh, sorry. The previous, we can create a new security group. So we choose CTF auto, and we can review and launch. Launch. So same thing. We just use the same key pair, and then we launch instances. So once you see that the instance is running and status check pass, then just click on this, then click connect. So same thing, you need to connect to this server using the SSH client using Putty. So let's do that. Okay, so before we connect to the server, there's one thing I want to show you. So next, you need to go to the VPN domain name that you have created in the previous section. Okay, so you will see something like this. Then so there's user login. Then you just log credentials. So you will see something like this. So you need to install this OpenVPN Connect client. So it will be something like this. So once you have the client installed, you go back to OpenVPN. Then you go to this this IP address. Then you just click accept username. So you just put the username that you have created. Password, just import. So you click on reject. So you just click. So once it's connected, that's good. So it means now you can actually access the CTFd portal. So next we'll bring up the party configuration. So once you set properly, open, then log in as EC2 user, and you have successfully logged in. So first we can do a sudo yum update all the latest updates. So once it's completed, then we can go on to the next step. Okay, so next what you can do is go to this website to look at the installation process on how you can install CTFd on the EC2 instance using Docker. So Docker is a container service where it's one of the simplest means of deploying a CTFd instance. So you just follow the instructions here. Install Docker first. So we do a sudo yum install Docker. So once it's finished, just hit yes. Okay, so once it's done, then next you need to install the Docker Compose on Linux. Just follow this. Next, you can add executable permission to the binary. And you can check your Docker Compose version. Okay, so once it's done, then you go back here. You need to clone the CTFd repository with git clone. But first, you need to install Git. Git is the GitHub. So you can install the GitLab inside this server. So once it's done, then we can do this. Oops. We can do a sudo. Oh, sorry. We do a sudo git clone. Once it's done, then we modify the docker compose.yml for list. Okay, then we go to C. Okay, so we have the docker compose.yml. So let's do that. Then what you need to do is to go under environment and then change. Okay, so next you go to the environment. Under environment, in the secret key. So we can specify a random value. So any secret value of your choice. So once you are satisfied, you just click exit, then save. Next, what you can do is to run docker compose up. Okay, there's an error. So make sure that docker started. Okay, so once you start, then we run the docker compose again. Okay, so it works. Wait for it to complete. Okay, so once you see this, it shows that CTFd is running already. So next you need to test whether you can access to the CTFd website or not. So what you can do is go back to the instance, copy the private IP address, copy and paste. What you can do is to in the information that you want. So we can just choose anything for now. So admin username and put as input. Next. So next. Then time next. Vision finish. So this is the platform that you will see. So you can actually set all the changes that you want, scoreboard, users, things like that. So what we need to do now is to install this SSL certificate to make this a secure connection. So before we do that, let's create a domain name for our IP address. So we go back here to the same account, add a new record. So this time around, let's call this as our IP address. So by default, it will point to our private IP address. So just wait for it to update finish. Okay, so once it's updated, we can try this domain name. Okay, so it works. So next, what we need to do is to install the SSL certificate. But before that, I just want to share with you some concept on proxy and reverse proxy. So first of all, the proxy server acts like a middleman that stands between your PC and the internet. So any traffic that comes out from your PC before you enter the internet, it will go through this proxy. So this is like an intermediary server that evaluates the outbound requests and takes action on them before communicating the request to the external resource. So usually company will actually request the employee to go through this proxy first before they access the internet, so that they can, they can do some sort of monitoring and filtering and things like that. So next concept I want to introduce is this thing called reverse proxy. So reverse proxy server acts like a middleman that evaluates the inbound requests from the internet and takes action on them first before communicate the request to the internal resources. So internal resources is like your web server, mail server, and things like that. So over here, reverse proxy server can also act like a load balancer to balance out the traffic. So with this concept in mind, let's take a look at this CTF portal. So as you can see here, this is what we will be configuring. So right now, this CTF portal AWS instance, we already have the CTF Docker installed, but it's only listening on the port 80. So if you want to install the SSL certificate, we need to install the Apache server and listen on the port 443. At the same time, it need to be configured to accept SSL connection. So when it accepts the SSL connection, you can then proxy the request to the port 80 in Docker, and that will be communicated via HTTP. Before it actually enter the Apache server, we can also add an application load balancer in our own whole setup. Okay, because in the future, if let's say you want to install web application firewall, you can install in application load balancer. Or in the future, if let's say you want to add more instances, we can also attach the load balancer so that this load balancer can balance out the traffic and make sure that no server is overloaded. Same thing, we can also install a SSL certificate on the application load balancer. So this is what we will do. So right now, let's get into it on how we can do that. So let's go back to the Putty connection. So we go into this CTFd portal again, then log in as a EC2 user. Okay, so once we are in, what we can do now is to install Apache. So let's go to this web page and look at this tutorial, how to install a LAMP web server on Amazon Linux 2. So first we do a sudo yum update. Okay, no packages marked for update. So next we install this. Then next we can install this. And we can start the Apache web server. Oh, okay, so we have failed. Why? So let's take a look. Status HTTPd service address already in use. So what we need to do is we need to turn off the port because Docker is listening on port 80. So we need to disable the listening port in Apache because Docker is listening on port 80. So our Apache web server can not listen on port 80. So you must listen to port 443. So let's see how we can do that. Maybe we do a nano, then sudo. Okay, let's take a look. Yes, you see here, listen to port 80. So we don't want that. We only want to listen to 443. I mean, we have to open the listening port. If not, we still cannot start the Apache web server. So okay, exit. Yes. So what we need to do next is to restart Apache web server. Okay, so now it's working fine. So we can verify whether is it running. So we can also run this command status. Okay, so it's running right now. Okay, so next what we need to do is to install the SSL certificate on Apache. So first, what we can do is we install the Let's Encrypt certificate. So you go to this website where it shows you how you can install Let's Encrypt on Amazon Linux 2. So let's do that. So you go to step 2 because we already done all this. And cd m copy paste. Then we go to here. Okay, next we need to install and configure Let's Encrypt. Yes. Yes. Alright, so it's completed. So what I need to do next is to use this following command to install subbot. So same thing. You change this to demo.cloud DNS. DH. Is it correct? It is correct. So let's do that. Let's run this again. Support. Enter email address. Okay, you key in your email address. Then click yes. Yes. Okay, so next you need to copy this and then go to this cloud DNS, then click on plus, then change this to CNAME. Oh, sorry, text. Change this to this, then change to this to ACME challenge. Please remember not to press enter to continue, because if you do that and while this is updating, then you will have an error. So once you see this has updated, you open up another terminal just to see whether this record has been updated or not. Okay, so what you can do is you type ns lookup, then you set py equal to txt, copy this underscore acme challenge dot cloud demo dot cloud dns dot ph. Okay, so once you see this, it means that it has been updated. So after you've done that, you just you go up to the first terminal, press enter to continue. So waiting for verification, cleaning up challenges. So which virtual host would you like to choose? Then you just click one. Okay, so once you see this congratulations message, means it has been configured successfully. Okay, so if you go to this website, right, you only see this you will see this test page. It means that it's working correctly, and then you see that connection is secure. But the thing is, you do not want to see this test page. You want to see this page itself. So what you need to do next is to do a reverse proxy to proxy this HTTP connection to this website. Okay, so in order to do that, we need to install mod SSL first to allow Apache to accept SSL connection. First, you need to configure SSL TLS on Amazon Linux 2. So you go to the part whereby you can enable the SSL connection in Apache. Yes, so you need to add a TLS support by installing the Apache module mod SSL. So let's do that. Okay, so next, once you have that, what we need to do next is to make sure it has this. So we can go to okay, so it's working fine. It's there already. So next we need to configure the reverse proxy. Okay, so if you type httpd -m, it will list all enabled Apache modules. So in this case, it's not, there's some error, syntax error. So maybe we can go okay, so it should be something like this. So it lists all the loaded module. So we make sure that all these four are loaded. Then next you can actually restart. Okay, so once you restart your Apache server, what you can do next is to create the virtual host file. So what exactly is a virtual host? So basically, virtual host files are the files that specify the actual configuration of our virtual host, and it determines how the web server responds to various domain requests. So over here, we need to do some sort of configuration on how we want to proxy the request to the CTFd Docker. So next, I need to create a virtual host file. So the virtual host configuration I referenced from this website, but I didn't take in everything. I only configure those that is suitable to my setup. So right now I'm only listening on 443 in Apache. So I will only add 443, port 443. So let me do some cleanup first. Okay, so first, this is my server name. This is my clouddemo.clouddns.ph. So that is the domain name. Then if we want to do some logging for the error logs, we can also add in these 2 lines. Then we need to configure the SSL so that Apache can take in the SSL connection. So we turn on the engine. So this is a server suite. Okay. So this is the protocol and turn it on. Then this is the part where we proxy the request to our internal IP address. So let's check our IP address again. So as you can see here, our internal IP address is this one. So copy, change here, change this 193. Same goes for this as well. So this is for the proxy request. We want to proxy the domain name in HTTPS to HTTP. So this is our internal IP address. So this is our SSL certificate that is stored in this location. Okay, so once you are done, you just click exit, save, enter. Then you need to restart the Apache server. Okay, so there's some error code. So let's take a look. Okay, so I also make some errors here. Let me save. Okay, so we just to check. Okay, so our Apache is running correctly. So what we need to do now is to test our Apache web server. So let's take a look. Okay, so there's a proxy error. .193. So just make sure it's correct. 3.1. Okay, so done. You just go exit, save. Let's do a restart again. Okay, so it's fine. Next, you need to test it out. Okay, so it's working. Great job. So if you find that this video has been helpful to you, I'll appreciate you give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And I will see you in the next session.